I'm Connor Owl, and this is Old Oscar Countdown. And today we're going to be looking at three categories that all make sense and more of the below the line categories, and that is makeup and hairstyling, production design, and costume design. So, if you've seen this show before, welcome back. If you're new, this is the Old Oscar Countdown. Like I said, every week essentially we break down a different category, leading up until the Oscar 2017 nominations, trying to guess what the nominations are going to be and predict them to give you a better awareness of what the Oscar buzz is. I'm having a lot of fun with the show. It's been going by really quickly. We're almost through all the categories. This will be the second last episode, I believe. But we will have, after this, the sort of three that sort of got left to the side, but are still important themselves. And that's visual effects, foreign film, and best editing. But that's in the next week's video. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this right now because I haven't actually shot them yet, but I might release them earlier before this episode airs. But essentially, what I'm going to do is three videos that you should be upcoming and see. The first one is the Connors, which is my award show. Similar to the Oscars, I have different categories, and I briefly explain why I chose them, and then choose a winner. And that's going to be a super long one. It should be a lot of fun. The next one is going to be my top 10 videos. I decided to do a top 10 video list. It'll be a relatively quick one, but I got some honorable mentions to my top 10, explaining why. Pretty simple video, but I think I might as well do it because I've been keeping a list of them throughout the year, and I've been trying to see a bunch of movies for the Connors and the top 10, so get them out of the way, things I'm missing, like Fences or Jackie. But for right now, we're going to be doing the three categories. Oh, and then the third one, sorry about that, is our big Oscar Spectacular. Now that should be airing in the next couple days from when you're seeing this. That's because it'll be right before the Oscars, I think 2 days before, where I'll update all my lists and so say, I think this is going to be here, here, or there. Things like Best Picture, which I recorded in October, probably will change. Actually, most definitely will change because the Oscar race and landscape has just completely changed in general. Things maybe like the Golden Globes may affect some of the my choices now and might switch things up. But that'll be my final Oscars video for my final list of nominations. But this week, don't take them all with it, in stone because they are malleable. But I won't make a video like this and put it out after the nominations because that just looks stupid. But anyways, I'm just rambling. Let's go on to the show. Essentially, what I'm going to do is read off the list of what I think is going to make it impossible for each category, but I'll separate them. So the first one we're going to be looking at is makeup and hairstyling. So for my nominations, Deadpool, Florence Foster Jenkins, and A Man Called Ove, with my possibles being Hail Caesar and Star Trek Beyond. Now, makeup and hairstyling, there's only three lists. I feel most confident about this one just because there has been a short list that come out at the time of recording. Production design and costume design have not released a short list, so I'll probably look like a fool, but by the time Oscar nominations come up, if there is a short list, I will look at that to then change my predictions accordingly. For example, if I made this like a week ago, or a couple weeks ago actually, things like Jackie and La La Land will be in makeup and hairstyling, but they didn't even make the short list. So now we have things that, like Deadpool, which I didn't think I'd be saying, but I'm so glad because Deadpool is such a great movie and should be honored somehow. Plus, think about it, how funny would the campaigns be if it's the Oscar-nominated Deadpool or the Oscar-winning Deadpool? That'd be so hilarious because it's just so anti-superhero and anti-movie and so, for breaking that fourth wall and very meta and self-referential. But for my first pick, which is A Man Called Ove, if you remember, I believe 2 years ago, it was, or maybe even last year, it was the 100-year-old man who climbed out the window and disappeared. Yeah, super long title, but no one was expecting it. It only got one nomination, and that was in makeup and hairstyling because they did this great makeup to this old man, and a guy who wasn't old and made him look old. Swedish actor, and that did really well at the box office. And now another Swedish film, A Man Called Ove, with a foreign film submission, which I don't think is going to get in for a foreign film, but it's done by the same makeup artist, so they're hoping to get in. It's another old person, so getting that old makeup back on. They might reward it again, and it'd be like sort of a surprise. I was going to count them out, but then I decided, screw it, I'm not counting them out. They sort of surprised us last year, a couple years ago, I forget now. But they surprised us, and I'm not going to count them out, even though I have something like Star Trek Beyond, which has a lot of makeup and is an American film that people recognize and have seen. I'm still going to give it to A Man Called Ove just because of that surprise from the 100-year-old man who climbed out of the window and disappeared. My second one here is Deadpool. If you remember Deadpool, he when he takes off his mask, because he is in the mask for the large majority of the movie. I say half of it, but when he does take it off, there's this great scene where he says like, he looks like a avocado hate fucked another avocado, and a topographical map of Utah, like just T.J. Miller giving these great things of what he looks like with his sort of burnt skin, and he has no hair, and that's sort of the makeup they're referring to, because really there isn't any other makeup in the movie, because someone like Colossus is a CGI character. But I digress. I think that's a really good piece of makeup, and because it's the main character, they have to do a lot for those scenes. And I think they really like Deadpool. It's going to get nominated somehow. It did well at the Globe, so it definitely has some sort of award season contenders. And I feel like these categories, these below the line categories, will be sort of things where, oh, it's a fan favorite, given the nomination, because it's not going to get in with something like Best Picture. But instead of just giving a bunch of movies the nominations, I think that these are the categories where we'll be like, oh yeah, Deadpool, it's a funny movie. I'll give it to him. And I think at least it stuck in my mind, maybe because I like the movie so much, but that sort of Ryan Reynolds burnt face sort of thing. Disturbing, but still a great piece of makeup, I think. My last one here is Florence Foster Jenkins, which right now is the winner, I think. Maybe that's unconventional thinking, because before I was thinking Jackie or La La Land, and Florence Foster Jenkins, before the shortlist came up, but then Jackie and La La Land cut out, so maybe I don't have as much of a grasp on this category as I think I do, which I really don't. I'm not too educated on makeup and hairstyling, to be honest, but I'm basing it off previous years of the Oscars, and what I've learned is that something like Florence Foster Jenkins, it's sort of that awards bait. I think Florence Foster Jenkins is going to do really well. It's going to be sort of a surprise Philomena sort of situation, because it's the same director, and Philomena just surprise people at how well it did at the Oscars. And I think it could actually win this category. Especially in the below the line categories, Florence Foster Jenkins I think will do good, and it has that typical sort of dresses from Florence and the makeup she does. And then spoiler alert, somewhat for Florence Foster Jenkins, she has cancer, so she takes off her wig. So there's things like that where you have to incorporate the makeup for sure. And there's it is sort of a period piece because it is 1940s, although it's not really that heavily focused. So I still think they're going to reward them for makeup and hairstyling, because like costume design, the more costumes the winning, the more makeup the winning. So that could be one of the reasons why my possibles could get in, which two possibles, they're definitely up there for sure. First one I have is Hail Caesar. Excuse me. This is old Hollywood. I think this is going to be this over something like Rules Don't Apply, another Hollywood Oscar baity movie. But this one's done by the Coen Brothers. I think just because it was in February, people may have forgot about it, but it's sort of an ode to it's an ode to old Hollywood, and just the sort of big, grandiose sort of musical numbers, or the old epics that they used to do, and I think that maybe it should make sense again some of production design, because it's all these different old-timey sets. But I think it's going to get makeup and hairstyling, because you have someone like Scarlett Johansson and sort of the typical Hollywood makeup settings for sure. And there's just so many characters, so many recognizable characters. So that's a possible. And then the next one is Star Trek Beyond. Because it's the sci-fi movie, we've seen things like Guardians of the Galaxy get nominated before, with that amazing makeup from Zoe Saldana, Gamora, and Drax, played by Dave Bautista. He's the bigger guy, and Zoe Saldana was the green person. So you have like makeup like that, similar to Star Trek Beyond, where Jayla is like all full in makeup. You see, she's not CGI. Just like this huge sort of white tail coming into her face with like, she looks really interesting. And even the bad guys have some of that makeup. So there's definitely a lot of makeup. It's a sci-fi sort of weird makeup. Star Trek's, the past two Star Treks have gone in nominations. So the best chance I think Star Trek can have is in this category, if it's going to get a nomination. But based on critical reception and box office success, I don't think really a lot of people saw Star Trek Beyond. So I'm going to knock it down the list just for that. Okay, so the next category we're looking at is production design. So I'm going to read them off, my definites, and then my possibles. So first, La La Land. Second, Silence. Third, Jackie. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Jungle Book. And my possibles, Rogue One, and then Old Hollywood, I sort of said. So Hail Caesar, Rules Don't Apply, or La La Land. So let's go on to the first one, La La Land. I think this is a sort of an underlying factor that a lot of people realize about La La Land, but it has beautiful production design. Every review you see, and it's true. They always talk about how La La Land does such a great job of merging that old Hollywood and while still keeping it modern and fresh and sort of giving an ode to it, but doing something completely new and saying it's a new template for movie musicals like this for the future. And I think that has a lot to do with production design, that overall tone of the movie. One of the reasons why Damien Chazelle is such a great director of this movie because he nails all these smaller aspects. And this one's not as a smaller one, but it's definitely a big one, which is production design. And I think that something like this, it could win for La La Land. That's right now my winner, just because I think that if La La Land keeps on getting steam, keeps on winning awards and awards, it could just sweep, especially those below-line categories, because something like Manchester by the Sea is not going to get production design, but something like La La Land could win Best Picture, and if they like it enough to give it the Best Picture, they're just going to give it across the board, similar to how we saw it last year with Mad Max win all the below-the-line categories. Except Mad Max wasn't really a Best Picture Oscar contender, but La La Land is. So if it sweeps those early sort of areas like production design and costume design, be aware for Best Picture if you're watching it throughout the night, because it's a 3-hour show, the Oscars after all. And I think it's just beautiful in terms of just the cinematography is beautiful, but a lot of that has to do with the production design and choosing certain locations that make it seem like modern day LA, but also have that sort of romance that people see in the movie. There's a great capture in that movie. They do a great job capturing that, and I think production design is a great way to sort of reward them for doing that, because it's such a big thing that people always talk about, and I think that should be rewarded to the production design. Next one here is Silence. This is just because it's a period piece. Not a lot of people know that, and it's in a different country. It's in not feudal Japan, but Japan, and it's definitely, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't speak too much about it, but there's things like they use the woods and the forest, but then also there's scenes in Portugal with the priests with these beautiful, old sort of ancient buildings that are still in Portugal, but they were also there newer back in the old days, of course, because there's places in Europe that have such a deep, rich history of these buildings. They really utilize that, and then that transfer over to Japan with using some, again, classical sort of older Japanese structurals to make it seem older. And a lot of it was done outside. It wasn't really done on a soundstage or anything, which comes to one of my next picks. I'll skip ahead a couple because it relates. Jungle Book. This thing is like, what? Jungle Book production design? Isn't it all CGI? Yeah, it was. But the production design is like nailing it. They nailed it so well. I also think that, just on a tangent, it made like $1 billion at the box office, so this can get rewarded, because a lot of these categories like Deadpool, if they like it, they'll reward it in these below the line categories. But I think production design for a Jungle Book, it's really amazing what they did, because it's shot in LA. It was shot in LA in a soundstage in a studio. So the actors had to look at sort of not animals, sort of just other actors pretend they're animals. Especially the young boy who plays Mowgli did a great job with that. But then there's pictures online of just Mowgli, the actor who plays Mowgli, swimming in sort of like this giant sort of circle, but that's it. And you look upside, and it's a big soundstage studio area, and then they have to animate that to make it look like the jungles. And I think they did a great job with that, and they really should be rewarded for that. And if you don't know, that really does fall under the production design aspect of the movie. And the next one here is Jackie. Once again, we see a period piece like Silence, where this is very recognizable to people. So, and there's a lot of pictures around it, so it's a little easier to get. But that means it's also harder to nail, because people will remember that who are probably seeing the movie, especially the Oscar voters. So if they watch Jackie and they're like, wow, that was like, I felt like I was there in that moment, because all of these older Oscar voters remember when JFK got assassinated. So if they remember and they sort of have that feeling when they watch Jackie, they'll definitely give it to production design, just because you have things like the White House and Dallas, where JFK actually got shot, and just recreating that moment really well using production design. I think that they'll definitely reward them if they come out of that theater feeling like, wow, I felt I was there, getting transported into the movie. I think they're going to reward that for best production design. And my last definite is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I just think Harry Potter normally does well, so if they like Fantastic Beasts, they'll reward it again. I'm not entirely sure. This is definitely on the cusp for me right now, and it doesn't make conventional thinking, but I think just because it's sort of like this, I guess you could say, fantasy adventure sort of movie, that they'll reward them for having this magical world and creating this new center of Harry Potter, which is 1940s New York in a different area and different sort of theme and recognizable areas compared to modern day London. And because a lot of those buildings are gone now, recreating what they have left in New York in the 40s was pretty well done, I think. And then my next possible one is Rogue One. That's why I think it gets switched out with Fantastic Beasts, just because a lot of people did like Rogue One. They might want to reward it to something like Jungle Book or Deadpool. And just because Rogue One, sci-fi movie, and you know what I mean, it's a whole new world, really. And they did a lot of that stuff. They built a lot of sets using practical effects, and just the whole beach scene does feel like gritty and real, like a war movie. So if they were to reward anything, I think it'd be production design is definitely up there, aside from things like score and sound effects. But in terms of the visuals of the movie, I think they'll give it to production design, possibly. And then my last three, I guess you could say, it's just an old Hollywood style. Hail Caesar rules don't apply because they're based on Hollywood, and you could have those different sets. So it's like if the old Oscar members sort of see it as Oscar bait, they might stay away from it, or they'll see it as a great tribute to old Hollywood and they'll want to reward it. And Allied, even though it's not about old Hollywood, it's shot like an old Hollywood movie, sort of like the 40s spy thriller, so they might want to shoot that, especially because it takes place in Germany in the 40s, so again, a period piece. And then my last category here, we have costume design, so I'm just going to read them off and then say my possibles. So, Jackie, La La Land, Silence, Florence Foster Jenkins, Allied. And my possibles, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and Love and Friendship. So, first one, costume design, Jackie. You see on the posters that red dress, very iconic, and there's even the blood stains on it. So I just think in terms of costume design, a lot of it has to do with dresses and women, female specifically. Things like Cinderella was definitely a possible contender last year, even though it didn't win. I thought it was going to win. It didn't, but it got nominated because it's this big, grandiose, sort of iconic dress. I think the same way for Jackie, where it's this iconic dress. People know this, and they nailed it well. And then sort of the security detail suits, that sort of aspect of it, and people like Bobby Kennedy having a little more sophisticated attire versus the security guards, and different things like that. So I was reading up into it. It was pretty interesting, pretty basic because they had to, like I talked about in production design, nail this sort of feeling. But I think it's going to get nominated for costume design. Although I did say Jackie possibly with makeup and hairstyling, so maybe Jackie and La La Land, these two might just get wiped off. But I don't know. I'm still going with them. Right now, like I said, there's not a short list for it, so as you may be watching this, you maybe think I'm stupid, but I'll explain my reasoning. And if they're not, I'd say they're a little bit of a shock if they don't make the short list. Next one here is La La Land. Same sort of regional production design, except for now it's the costumes, and it's Emma Stone and her three roommates. There's this great shot from when they're singing Someone in the Crowd, where Emma Stone has that purple dress, and then her roommate has like a yellow dress, and then a blue dress, and so they're walking down. It's this beautiful shot, and just these like amazing sort of flowing dresses. And then Ryan Gosling with his, extravagant different suits, his wool suits, not polyester, as I mentioned in the movie. And just because I think that her dresses and what she wears is sort of feel old-time Hollywood, and how she wears her hair, but it's a modern take onto that. So if they want to reward that old-timey thing, the old-timey factor of La La Land, I think they'll definitely reward for costume design, mostly because that Emma Stone just dresses imprinted in my mind, just seeing her walk out into the bar or walk out into the Los Angeles sort of golden hour time. It's really, really beautiful. Right now, I think my winner, I'll give it to Jackie right now, but La La Land can definitely, like I said, sweep those below-line categories if they love it a lot, like some of the critics, and like I did. The next one is Silence. Really, I'm going based on other people, so a lot of people really think Silence has a good shot of possibly winning. I haven't seen Silence, so I can't talk too much about it, but you have costumes in terms of the priest outfit, and then also the different traditional outfits that you see the Japanese wear when there's that conflict of interest, and then things like how in the beginning of the movie you see in the trailers their priest outfits are very clean, matte, and then by the end they're sort of like scraggly and maybe ripped, so it's like, and that's also a metaphor to how their faith has been challenged. So it's things really interesting to do with the costumes and how that sort of helps the overarching theme of the movie. But like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't talk too much about it. Next one here is Florence Foster Jenkins. Like I said, I think this could do well for nominations. It's just so Oscar baity, and I think it's been doing well so far. And So, and for the costume design, Florence, of course, the opera singer has this beautiful costume. And like I said, for makeup and hairstyling, it is a period piece. So, and like I said, the more costumes almost, that's sort of a rule to remember for the Oscars. The more costumes, the more higher chance it is to get a nomination or get a win. And it just has a lot of dresses and suits and even the people in the audience. And then there's a scene with the soldiers, so they are all like sort of historically accurate. I just think that Florence Foster Jenkins just seems like a costume design movie. To be honest, you can feel it. But then something like My Possible, Love and Friendship, also you can feel it. But I'll talk about that soon. Next one here is Allied. Like I said, beautiful just because you have this Brad Pitt in this beautiful suit, and then you have Marion Cotillard's character who looks like possibly a German spy, but you don't know. She's going back and forth with this beautiful dress you see her, and she's sort of like a great mix, I think, of sexy and mysterious, but you want to trust her, but you don't want to trust her. And I think that design, and especially her dress, is super iconic from the movie. And if anything, they sort of see those posters or anything, they'll be like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's probably a good costume design movie." Or like they'll see it and they'll be like, "Oh wow, I was very impressed with that." Not only the production design, but how everyone's dressed. I think they're possibly going to reward that. And Allied, it's hard to say though right now because it might get replaced with something like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them if they like that a little bit better. But I think Allied, this could be their one nomination because it did sort of fall off that Oscar train because it didn't really stick. The next one here is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Like I said, you have the two dresses from, what's her name? Catherine Waterstone and then Rachel Weisz. Their characters have these sort of 40s dresses that sort of look like and then there's like the 20s sort of short hair. It is takes some place in the 40s, but it's like that 20s sort of short hair, sort of woman independence. I'm forgetting the term, but they definitely nailed that sort of aesthetic. And then you have Eddie Redmayne's character, where he's sort of like bumbling and he looks a little bit out of place compared to Kowalski's character. That's the character's name. I forgot the actor's name, unfortunately. Kowalski, where he's sort of that typical New Yorker, similar to like a Colin Farrell. And then the poor children aspect you have to it. So there's definitely a lot of costumes, all different levels to it. And if they like that, the variety, they'll appreciate that and put that in there. But it's on the cusp for sure. And the last one here, Love and Friendship. This is a period piece. These big dresses. I just don't think Love and Friendship has really any Oscar buzz whatsoever. If anything, it's going to get something like costume design. Maybe I should put it in there. I do sort of feel like, oh, Love and Friendship, that's just Oscar bait. It's this big period piece with the big dresses. You know what I mean? You've seen before, and the it's like England, if you don't know. And they have sort of that heavy white makeup and the big poofy dresses, and all of them have it in the movie. It's like you barely even see them with like you don't see a character without that. It's strange, and I've only seen half of Love and Friendship. Didn't really like it. Sort of fell asleep through it, to be honest. A little snooze fest, but I mean the Oscars sort of like to reward that thing, especially something like costume design because of these big poofy dresses, right? But I don't know, it just doesn't have the Oscar buzz right now for me to reward it, and maybe a personal bias because I just don't really like the movie. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe. I love hearing the comments. I love responding to the comments. I'm gonna try and do my best to do that. I'm just trying to make sure everyone gets heard back. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, stay tuned.